How far are you willing to go to take care and protect your own secrets? How far are you willing to lie to your friends, to your family, to your comrades, to all of them to protect this very powerful and intimate secret for yourself? Hello, you beautiful monkeys. It's your boy Kadukun, and welcome back to the Kadukun channel. And we're going to be bringing back this video. We're going to be talking about chapter 20, Pack of Lies of Monster Remake. And in this chapter, honestly, it's a lot more deeper. We are past, the tournament arc. We're past the fighting. All of the epic fights are over. We're all dealing with now with intimate conversations with each of the characters. And we're going through the actual meat and potatoes of the actual plot line, the backstory of each character, and a little bit more. More specifically, our two main MCs, Jabari and Liam. In the very beginning of the chapter, we see Allison, September, and Han, and they're all just talking, possibly going on to do something, but September actually wants to go somewhere different. They all were planning to go somewhere, but September wants to go to the hospital. She wants to go to the hospital because she wants to visit the detective, Mr. Detective Man that lost his partner in earlier chapters in Volume 1. Basically, in the previous chapter, in Chapter 19, there is a segment where Liam has a phone call, and he seems to be talking to someone specific. He is not trying to anyone figure out who he's talking to, and it's clearly a very personal thing for him, but September clearly wants to know what's going on because it clearly is affecting her captain, because as soon as he had that phone call, he had that very intense fight with Fane. So she's working with Allison to actually go to the hospital because apparently her mom is a major donator to the hospital, and she has a free access card to get into the hospital wherever she wants. So basically, Allison is a little bit of a nepo baby. Now Han is with them, and he doesn't fully understand where they're going, what they're trying to do, but all September wants to do is to go talk to the detective to see if she can figure out what's going on, because she thinks the detective is the one that called him. And Han decides to say, you know what, I will come with you guys, because at this point we need to get disguises, and I think it'll be a lot more fun to what I was gonna do. And they all go on their own little side plot in this moment in time. In the meantime, we have gone to this point where Jabari and Liam are leaving the school, and Jabari is trying to talk to him. I'm assuming at this point in time it's the same day after the whole tournament arc, and Jabari is literally asking him like, hey, on the first day back in Volume 1, you asked me to take out Dylan, the very first leaker that Jabari ever had to face and was demanded and was actually chosen to fight against, to possibly even kill. And Jabari to this day still doesn't fully understand why he's asking him to kill these creatures who happen to possibly be human beings. And Liam is just simply explaining that I am trying to do my best to bring forth the greatest potentials that my characters can do, my teammates can do. That is the goal of a captain. That is my job. And Jabari says, so you're telling me your job is to get your hands soaked in blood? How am I supposed to realistically trust you? But then Liam asks him a genuine question as well. He said, how am I supposed to trust you if you can't hold your charge and can't even follow the simplest of instructions and follow simple orders? And you go day by day, and in almost every single fight, at any moment, it feels like you need to be saved. Liam is basically telling him that at this point in time, if you realistically want to protect your family, you need to sacrifice any dreams that you may have. Your dreams, your goals, your aspirations. And keep in mind, his dream is just to simply create a song that everybody will love. And all Liam is saying is that everyone is going to die, whether it is a leaker or a loved one. And it's up to you which one it ends up being either way. It's up to you. And he says you just can't keep your hands clean forever. And at this point, you're seeing a parallel transition of two characters, Jabari and Liam, trying to go back to their homes. And Jabari is going through, the similar problems that he has with his sound tuning ability. He's hearing all the small conversations that's happening inside of the car as his dad is picking him up. And his dad is trying to make everything, be fine. He's trying to talk to him, be all happy and be a supporting father. But obviously Jabari's not having it. He's looking down and he has his hoodie up, trying to hide the injuries that he has. And of course the dad is like, hey, why do you have that on your head? What are you trying to do? And he pulls the hoodie down and he sees him with, some marks, some scratches, some bandages, and a little bit of a swollen eye. And he's like, you're fighting again. Why are you doing this again? And the dad is warning him, like, these kids have connections. One wrong person and you'll get kicked out. Like, we'll be all in jeopardy if you decide to fight any more than you don't need to. And Jabari gets frustrated and annoyed at his dad, saying like, why are you blaming this on me? Now, I don't really fully understand this viewpoint or this projection of the character, because at this point we don't really have that much interaction with Jabari and his dad compared to volume 1. And then obviously the dad doesn't fully understand what's going on, what his son has been going through at the school. So it's kind of in, parents' nature to ask questions and hope to God that didn't start anything, because he wasn't blaming him, but he was just saying be careful. But obviously Jabari took it as his dad blaming him for the decisions that he's doing, for the problems of being in these fights. As for Liam, he's going back on his own. And Liam gets a call from Madame Dean, and he asks her, is everything okay? And all she does is ask him, like, I should be asking you this question. Ever since the training event, ever since a kill switch was activated, I feel like I should be asking you that. And basically what happens is that Madame Dean tells him that I know the call from the doctor, which was the call from he got previously in previous chapters, wasn't ideal for him in that moment, but he says he can't protect you if you pick petty fights. She can't protect him forever. And she also just told him that she redacted the kill switch penalty from his record, so nobody will know that he actually got the kill switch activated upon him. And of course, he says he's taking responsibility for the events that occurred, and he says, this is my responsibility, this is what I signed up for, and I'm sorry that he had to make that decision. And we get the same parallel as Liam is still going back to his house. He's not talking to anyone, he's just going to his home, and it's all alone, it's all secluded, it's all pretty depressing. Obviously, he seems like he doesn't have anyone to talk to outside of the school. And then his dad is apologizing to him about, raising his voice and accusing him of everything. And Jabari's going back to his loving family with his sibling, with his mom, with his dad. And obviously the mom, grabs his face and says, hey, what are you doing with all these marks and bandages on your body? What's going on? Are you fighting as well? And of course, when the dad's away from the frame, even though she knows that he says, he just, fell down some stairs or something, like he made something up. But the mom knows that he was in, getting some hands in, throwing some people around. But then the mom is just simply saying, like, I just hope good and well that you just didn't let the other guy get away with it, because I know your dad's a terrible liar. And of course, Jabari, says, nope, he ain't getting away with nothing. I gave him some good work in. But then we get this parallel of both characters. They're at home and they're trying to freshen up for the end of the day, preparing for dinner to meet with their families. But of course, with Liam, he's by himself and he's listening to a random news story talking about an expansion in energy outputs from Sonata, talking about record-breaking energy outputs for today, and they're trying to expand their mission to different territories in the darker frontier. And you clearly get the path and the statement of saying, thank you, Sonata, for blazing a path for all of humanity, claiming to see that Sonata is obviously relatively well received in the public eye, while in Jabari, everyone is having a moment of prayer, praying over the food and saying, Heavenly Father, we come before you humbled and grateful, another day for another chance to break our bread with our family together, blessing the food that they're about to eat. And everyone is ready, everyone is talking about it, everyone is taking everything that they're thankful for as they are getting ready to eat, and Jabari doesn't really have much to say, but everyone kind of covers for him for his section of the prayer. But Jabari is not feeling it. He doesn't feel like eating. He does not feel like going into any deeper about how he's feeling. He just says, hey, like, I'm gonna head up to my room for a moment. And the mom has talked to him. She can see that something is clearly bothering him. And she just lobs out the invitation that tomorrow they're going to the mall. And she's asking him, hey, does he want to come along? And he puts on a brave face and says, yeah, sure, I'm gonna go with you guys. But of course, he goes back up into his room and he tries to play his music. He plays his music, and the more and more he plays, it just gets more broken, more distorted, more angry, more frustrated, because clearly he is beyond frustrated in the circumstances that he's in. I just realized, is that Rayquaza? The Rayquaza floor mat. But he seems like he just can't get a grip. He's trying to retry, restart, calm himself down. It is just not happening. It's not coming out to the way he likes it. And he gets angry and he's mad. And all of the conversations up for the last chapters, everything that is happened to him up to this point has literally just started to bug him in his mind. It's ringing in his head. And he says, like, oh man, like he says the same words that Liam told him before he left, and he just slams his hands into his piano, frustrated and angry. And of course, his family can hear everything. Of course, they're concerned. They're very concerned, and they think, hey, should we go up? But the dad understands that he clearly is feeling something really deep down, and it's okay, we should just let him let it out at this moment in time. So Jabari goes back to what he knows best, which is putting his headphones on and trying to lock out the world and just crumble into his bed. Well, we're going back to the hospital, and Mr. Detective Man here is not having fun. Detective Lucas, and he's talking to his officials back in the department, and he's telling them that, hey, the person who was responsible for the death of my partner and all the people who are being attacked is Clerk Zuri, which is one of the leakers that actually killed Wraith's teammates. And he was one of the people that pulled up on the scene and was a little bit too late and was trying to stop him, but was only helped by Alpha Team. And of course, his members are saying like, hey, we read your report and you performed an unauthorized stakeout, and to arrest Zuri, he was going rogue, going off the books, and he was trying to tell him like, look, it wouldn't have been able to work if we were doing it by the books. And he's trying to tell him like, someone is trying to cover this up. It wasn't just a random robbery, something more is behind it. And he promises to his captain that like, it is related to Sonata. It has to be Sonata. But of course, the captain is not giving him any options, not giving him an opportunity. He's just telling him, I see you need time to heal. And he's telling him he's putting him on to paid leave, and he's disabled his badge number, and he won't be able to return to the department until he has regained his senses. And as he's in the hospital, you can see that he's gained even some gifts from Sonata, but he hasn't opened it. And he's looking through text messages, looking at his phone, and you see the background of his wife, of his daughter, and we don't know what's happening to his wife and his daughter at this moment in time, because in the last volume, or I believe in the last few chapters, we don't really get any understanding of what's happened to them in this current moment in time. All we know is that they were alive at one point, so we do not know what's going on with them now. And he's going through messages and he gets one unread email, and he looks and it's an email from Sonata's marketing team, and he gave him 4 free tickets to Sonata Land, which is a amusement park in this universe, which clearly I'm assuming they think that he can bring his whole family. But clearly something is wrong and he's not with his family at this moment in time, or something is wrong in that department. But then we're back outside in the hallways of the hospital, and we got our knucklehead characters September, Han, and Alicent, who are dressed up in disguises meant to go into the hospital, and they only know, I believe, is Alicent, because I believe she's supposed to be pretending to be her mom. And Alicent decides to do a stakeout while everybody else is going into the server room of the hospital. And in the server rooms of the hospital, Han knows how to hack into everything, and he knows where this area was because he used to come here a lot when he was around with his grandpa. As they're going through the information, they go through call logs, and they're going through the call logs of the hospital, and they're just trying to find if Liam was calling the hospital since they mentioned a doctor. But in reality, he was not talking to the detective or somebody else, so clearly he wasn't calling for this hospital. But of course, September gets what she wants, and she says, all right, we can go, we can head out, Han. And Han, for some reason, stumbles upon something that he does not realize that he's looking for. And Han is saying, hey, you came here to uncover secrets, right? So I kind of stepped in a little bit further. It's like Vector 5 only wipes memories that include transformed leakers. So he's talking about that the detective is the only person who has a lead on Zuri. So September is trying to tell him like, hey, like we're kind of going into really risky territory. But Han is a lot more determined, and clearly has a little bit more skin in the game because Zuri is one of the people responsible for the killing of team members that he knew personally. And all he wants to say is that he doesn't want their deaths to be in vain. And September can realize that he is kind of starting to act like Jabari. But Han is understanding to know when he's going to stop and says, look, we don't have to reveal anything that we've seen so far. All we know is that I just want to get the information and we can make it quick and leave. So they stop at Detective Kane's room and they come in and they start asking questions about Rafi Zuri. And he's basically telling them, hey, I'm afraid that we can't tell you much information, that it's police business. And of course, Han is able to pick up information really fast, like he was able to look it up and find out that the detective was suspended just recently, and he was willing to give them the Sonata Land tickets. But when he told them that like it was police business, they were prepared to just walk out and leave and get nothing out of it. But he stops them, yelling, wait, stop, wait, hold on. And he realizes that they're here about the missing kids, or the people, unfortunately, that were killed in the previous chapters. And Han knows, it's like, yes, they are my friends. But all Detective Kane says is like, I want to help you, but it's best that I leave this to the cops. But then Han reinforces and tells him, like, relax, I've hacked the security camera so they can't hear what we say, so you can speak freely. And he just realizes on how crazy these kids are, realizes how insane that how many lengths that they're going to go forward to. So Mr. Kane just starts to break down everything. And he just tells them that Zuri used to work at the stop shop after being fired from Sonata about 3 years ago. So the kids didn't know that Zuri used to work for Sonata. And of course, while he's working a part-time gig, it's not enough for him to, to be able to survive. And they had this Be Here account, which was referenced in the very beginning of Volume 1, which is like their Reddit comparison, which is like a Be Here, like B/here. kind of account talking about certain things, and he would always complain about his circumstances, how he couldn't afford to live. But it also revealed that on his account that his bank statement showed payouts from a company called Elysium Inc. And not too long after that he got approached by a man randomly on his page, but it was a little bit confusing because Zuri hasn't really posted on his page for a really long time. And after all this conversation, we all get put it together that basically leakers are essentially working together. They're a lot more sentient than we actually realize that they are. But before they can get any more information, Allison breaks in and says, hey, we gotta go. I'm assuming people are coming in, they don't know what's going on, and they thank the detective before they leave, and he just tells them, hey, you just never saw us. And he just says one last thing before they walk out, saying, I know there is more to Zuri, but he just does not know why. But then we come to the moment where we are talking to Zuri, and Zuri is in a random location. He doesn't know where the heck we don't know where the heck he is. Let me say that more clearly. And he seems to be talking to be three heads of an organization, but it seems like he's returning to them after a while, and the head guy who's sitting in the big chair says, what can I do for you, Mr. Zuri? And Zuri is basically thanking him, saying, I'm very grateful for your shelter, but he was wondering if he's able to return back home or leave this from where they are, because it looks like they're underground. So he's asking, like, hey, is it okay that I can leave? But the guy says, leave? Hey man, it's not safe out there. And he was asking him, like, is it your studio? Like, is it your house? And then the guy says, let's get Mr. Zuri what he needs to keep producing his quality content, which is on his page. And he said, that's okay, I'm just nervous that the detective is still on his trail. He does not realize that the detective is hospitalized, and he doesn't realize that he's not looking for him at this moment in time, but he believes he is to a degree. So he is thinking that he should just leave the city. He should flee the city, and he would never be able to get hit with any legal problems in jurisdiction. Brax and the commissioner is a friend, so clearly the commissioner is related to the leakers in somehow, and he's letting him say, like, look, you took a big leap to pursue your passions, and I completely respect that. I believe we should all follow our dreams to the fullest. And he's basically glazing the man, telling him that he thinks, like, I've always known that you were going to be a real philosopher, a strong man, a man who believes and yearns for freedom. And he's saying that people need you. They need Freeman, which I'm assuming that's like his code name or something. And then he asks about the hounds. What about the hounds? And he mentions and says Rin will keep them in line, which I'm assuming is the female counterpart, the female blacked out counterpart in his moment. And he says, I am not sure that the new one is any trouble. And he asks him what's the name of the kid. And then basically he says, send Veron. Veron is going to help keep them in line, and he's going to deal with Booker in his own personal way. He's going to find out what makes Booker tick. And then we get these other two characters who just simply say, hey babe, pay attention, and some, information just got hit on the Be Here page. And clearly I'm assuming this is the guy that they're talking about, who is Veron, who seems to be going after Booker in some aspect. And then with that, that's the end of chapter 20. So I have been rereading some of the chapters as I'm going through, trying to see how I feel about the progression of the story. And I personally do think that, yeah, the story's starting to go down, but I feel like personally that the inclusion and showing like some of these higher tiering villains, I don't know if they are the main villains as of yet. I just know that they are related in some format. It feels like they came in a little bit too early. Like, I would have preferred to see maybe Zuri starting to try and find somewhere, or he is being protected, but you get a little bit of a flashback scene and you saw him going into being protected by these main villains, or by one of these side villains who helps protects him. But I feel like the jump from being like, okay, we got the tournament arc, and then we go to everyone is trying to figure out what's going on with the leakers, and we find out that the leakers are working together, while at the same time Jabari is trying to feel these emotions about his family and wanting to protect them. And then Liam being on his own, feeling a little bit depressed and showing how isolating his life is. I do feel like I like where the story is going, and I like learning about it because I like the universe, so I'm enjoying what I'm reading. But I feel like we are moving at a pace where it's a little bit too fast personally. Like, I feel like information is being learned a little bit too easily. This is one of the few chapters where I'm a little bit mid on, compared to like the last few chapters. Like, yeah, I like my action moments, that's why I like the previous chapter a little bit more, but the progression of the story in terms of where we're actually getting into the meat and potatoes of everything feels a tad bit quick and feels a little bit too, I don't know what the right word is to describe it, because I don't want to say it's bad, because bad is not the right word. It's just, it needs a little bit more improvement in terms of building on the mystery, in essence. Like, I believe that the story's kind of told to us, instead of it being like, oh, we can figure it out as we go along. We understand that leakers are a problem, and now we just know that leakers are apparently working together in some capacity. We don't really have any room to figure out on our own. We're kind of just being told and we go along. That's kind of like something where I feel like it, because I always like a little bit of slight mystery. The only major mystery we have is how leakers are created and how they're being created in the first place, and what the Prometheus engine is. So the story has a backstory that is a little bit mysterious, but it's not the main forefront of the story that's being put to us right now. We don't really fully understand why leakers are there as of yet. We just know that we need to defeat them, kill them, get rid of them, hold them hostage, whatever, in whatever capacity. But we don't really see the connection to that, because even Detective Kane here doesn't really tell the kids about the Prometheus engine or anything beforehand, and he was in that backstory in the previous chapter when he meets his brother-in-law, when he runs into his brother-in-law, and he actually tells him what's going on and what may be relating to that. So to a degree you would feel like you would know something, but clearly something happened from that point in time to now to where reasons why he's not telling them. So I do hope that that information does come out. Otherwise, I do like to see the more intimate aspects of each character. Like, I do like to see how frustrating it is for Jabari to keep everything secret, so he has to protect his family. And I also like to see the juxtaposition of Liam's backstory, or his background, or his situation, showing how isolating it is when both of them are in somewhat of some form of isolation. They're not saying that each one of them is in a quote-unquote better life, but they're feeling some form of isolation that they can't really explain and are not willing to tell others. But I will say that this is one of the few chapters in this volume for me that wasn't like the greatest, because I felt like it kind of moved a little bit too fast for my personal opinion, because I'm kind of going through each chapter again as I'm doing these videos, because I did one read through and I'm doing a little bit more in-depth breakdown as I go through, and I do believe that they have room for improvement. I do want to see how he does it for volume 4, because I know what happens later on, and in the later chapters they do get better, because you get a little bit of a backstory. You get more backstory to one of the main characters, and the story in that point to me feels really good. It feels like it works, but it does add a little bit more confusion to the backstory as well. But at this point, I do believe that this is a good solid, I want to say like 5 out of 10, maybe 6 out of 10 chapter. You know, the art is still good. Everything on the art is still great. Like, the art has given me no problems up to this point, but obviously nothing really too dynamic happens in this chapter, so you don't really see the full skill marker for each of the characters in these chapters. It's just like very, you know, simple compared to like the previous chapters. Like, everyone's just talking, everyone's finding out information, everyone's doing things that separate from each other. But otherwise, so far we are having fun, and I'm looking forward to actually starting doing videos for the next chapter. So yeah, let me know what you guys feel about chapter 20, A Monster Remake. I do like it a little bit, but I do feel like there's still a little bit of changes that could have made it a little bit better. I'm not entirely sure what I would change. It was just like, I do know that the feeling I'm having towards it, it's based on the feelings I have for some stories where it feels like I'm getting too much information too fast. But yeah, let me know what you guys feel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and let me know if you like these videos as well. Let me know if there's any other comics or mangas or indie comics or any other stories that you would like me to do some videos like this for. I'm doing it like this because I want to actually do a little bit more yappy videos that doesn't require me to do too much like scripting and breaking down, because I like doing these kind of videos as well. So let me know if you like these, and don't forget to like, subscribe. I already said that. But yeah, it's your boy Kadukun. I'll see you guys next time, and peace.
FMA, handle business, don't play. On point when it comes to the anime. Jack and Daxter, ayy, let's go. The ultimate heroes, don't stop, we on the road. Kadukun, yeah, welcome to the